regions will be going into the first map here. Who will be able to take the first chicken dinner for their region? MEA and EU. Riding on the north side of Sandhawk, my name's John Allen. With me is the wonderful, the exquisite, the delightful, the ever-French Maxman.
I feel like with the irony we just saw on desk earlier, I don't know how to feel about this, but...
I was serious.
Oh, you've been serious? Oh, thank you very much, John. Having a great time being here for some Sandhawk action, and of course we're going to have potentially, we saw in the scrims, in also MEA Championship and European Championship, a few hot drops that could be happening here. Mainly one I'm looking at is going to be Brute Force versus Nexus Gaming in Cal in the Northern Edge, which did happen earlier. In the scrim, Brute Force did win it. Well, I'm really wondering if that's going to be happening once more right here.
Just taking a scan over the map, it looks like that might be the only hot drop we have. Enigma Galaxy on the south side have got GQ to worry about. Oh yes, you just pointed out to me, Max, the Painan hot drop as well.
Yeah, RTG versus Regnum Karya, not going to lie. After the GDM, you know, that we saw between them, could be going Regnum Karya's way. They've gotten themselves a nice win at the start over there. But yeah, Painan fight is going to be interesting. And the circle, northeast, no Gladiator circle, John. We're not going to see it. I'm glad.
Sad. Well, actually, yeah, you're right. It isn't actually sad. It's quite gladdening for you. Gladiators will have to rotate off that northwest island. Hard northeast shift. Nexus surrounded in Cal by Brute Force, seemingly, but the couple of vectors on board. It looks like Octavian has got something on the back there. Regnum Karya not willing to go for an immediate engage on RTG over the river. Bootcamp, Scott, excuse me, close by, but GK going to hold the majority of it. If
you really want to drop Bootcamp, I think this is the best way to do it here, John, is just have players in the warehouses north, and that should be the best approach. You don't have to take that fight anymore, so I feel like this is the smartest approach. So here's some teams, mainly players of Brute Force, a little bit underlooted for some of them, especially the two players north of the wall, lacking in especially helmet and armor, you can see, so they're not going to have the vest or the helmet. So one bullet's going to do a significant amount of damage. So Brute Force, maybe if they could, I'd say avoid taking the fight, but from their position, it seems like they want to keep an absolute hold down onto Nexus. Ooh. And just like in the scrims, maybe get a 4-player swipe.
Tixie's going aggressive onto Demuerte's position. Demuerte split 4 ways at the moment on the north near Hatin as well. One player was further south, and it looks like it was a knock and a flush as well for Gladiators. That's big news for their rotation if they want to go over the north side.
Yeah, he punched him to death, literally. He got himself that first elimination, good for Gladiators, but Demuerte are kind of... That is a massive split, I think it's fair to say. They have players in Hatin, players towards where Gladiators like to drop. Then you have Kose, which is just actually northeast of that bridge location, and you have even another player that's just north of Excuse Me, which is initially in boot camp. So I'm really hoping we're not going to see this split happen too often, because I think it's a bit overkill for this squad. As back to Nexus though, things a little bit slow, but you can see that now the hold actually has tightened so much for Brute Force. They got even closer, and now Nexus Gaming really can't escape. They have to take this fight head on, because I don't think Brute Force are going to allow them to leave for free.
The question is, how long does this fight have, right? Because you're going to have teams like Demuerte moving in, most likely along this north side. You're going to lose that presence in Lumberyard to the south. Moving down towards Tapmock is going to be a lot harder the longer this fight rages on. But with Exo Machina going down first, it could go a little bit better for Brute Force, but there's that lack of armor coming back to bite. Like you said, Max, the Vector down the wall line for Kapahala, keeping his teammates safe for the time being.
Oh! With the Uzi at that range. Okay, good execution from AYDO. And trying to go a little bit further here. Octavian with the M16, not the best weapon to get the hot drop here, unfortunately, John. But Dorian going to be completely singled out and taken down. Brute Force to get themselves the squad wipe and the res on their teammate, just like in the scrims. It keeps on happening. Nexus might want to give it up.
I mean, the Dark Horse, as Blank put it, looking blacked out right now. It's not going to be the easiest of starts for Nexus running into this tournament, but Brute Force will be chuffed to bits. The Gladiators, they've regrouped meanwhile on the northwestern side. Tixie actually still an outpost towards Trifecta. Fireflux, they have taken up residence in Paradise Resort. Excuse Me, who were encircling boot camp earlier, have moved into the foothills here.
Yeah, decent positions to actually hold in the middle of this phase 1 circle here, John. I'm looking east of Painan. Now looking at this compound here, surrounded by roads, really strong, a little above elevation. I would see teams like maybe Vision Esports, Falcons, next Riyadh maybe can transpeed into that position. So definitely a lot of free spots to aim for. And especially we know that typically on Sandhawk, the eastern coast is relatively free. Not many teams drop over there, so there's definitely a lot of decent entry points for some of these squads. As next Riyadh also got themselves a little bit of a hilltop under control. They spot Falcons, but I don't expect that to result in an all-out war happening between the two squads.
Not just yet. The circle is big enough for the both of them currently. Time will change that, however. And we'll have to fight for every inch of land in the time to come. RTG still playing down south by Quarry. A lot of teams yet to leave their original drop spots. Gladiators still over by Camp Alpha. Mad Bulls in Ruins. Enigma Galaxy in Sami. And GQ over in Camp Charlie.
Yeah, I think at this point, Enigma Galaxy and Sami is like tradition. That even though the heal strat is just not possible anymore.
You gotta do it.
Just gotta do it. Okay, Ralph, I swear to God, if I see Ralph with like 25 first aids, I'm gonna lose it. Ralph, stop it. Okay, it's 2023.
Stop it, Ralph.
Stop it, Ralph. Don't need it. Oh my God.
Mad Bulls have finally mounted up. They're going to go for a rotation. Normally, they either go for the bridge south of Painan and take a compound there as a launch point. But with the circle as far as it is, they might just have to go a little bit further than that. You can see they are currently breaking down south of Painan and heading for that compound. And the Gladiators are looking across as well from that northwest island finally.
Though, I'm looking at GK in particular here. They are not moving towards the circle, which you would normally expect. I think they might be predicting a move from Gladiators in Trifecta. So they're going for Bootcamp Hill in the south, maybe trying to take a very minimal risk here, just waiting there. If Gladiators come, maybe get an elimination or two, just wound the team, and then start moving into the circle later on. But it seemed like Gladiators were aware of that position being under control of GK, so they're going to go towards Hatin position, use that bridge, get into circle. As of right now, only a few teams are currently not in the safe area, like Enigma Galaxy, Gangsters, and also Mad Bulls that are slowly but surely making their way down south towards Lakawi to get in the circle, but going to get some shots taken at them by the Gangsters.
Gangsters didn't move far north. Far enough north, I should say, to cut off that Mad Bulls rotation, which, if they'd have done their research, they should have known that was going there. Maybe they just didn't want to take that fight. But, as you say, over in Lakawi, Mad Bulls now have that spot. The circles shrink, not really too dramatic here, Max. It's not really going to have that much of a crunch impact. The teams on the south side will have to move up, sure, but a lot of these teams are going to be happy.
I want to see Falcons go for that central compound surrounded by roads right to the east of Lutz. Currently, that position is free. No one is there. De Muerte are somewhat close, but they're on the other side of the road, so it shouldn't be really an issue to get that entry point in the compound. So I would recommend Falcons to go there. Though one thing, John, I think we've witnessed from Falcons in PMWI in particular, is sometimes they get a bit too much in their own head, I feel like. They see a really good opportunity, but they just second-guess themselves and at the end don't go for what could be a game-winning play, which is a little bit unfortunate, though. Regnum Karya going to be losing one of their players instantly to the hands of then Dock and Machine, actually.
Yeah, next, Ruya finding Tron. It's an unfortunate. Next, Ruya pushing in from that south side. Next, they had Regnum Karya were playing a little bit further west and playing probably a little bit too split there, really, for next Ruya to be able to have taken them down. Losing Tron, not ideal as teams start to crunch in. That compound on the junction that you were talking about, Max, is starting to get surrounded, but with no residents.
It's going to get hard to actually get access to it because it's going to be protected by, what, like 4 teams right now? Which is going to be that making that entry point so much tougher for some of the squads. GQ Corker going to be spotted out by Acer. Few shots taken, but nothing of value secured. And Fireflux, I'm actually really liking what Fireflux are doing here. They're just kind of spreading out their position, getting information south of Paradise Resort over to the eastern side too, with Lutz in particular. And if the circle goes their way, they can just regroup in Paradise. And because the terrain around Paradise Resort is just so rough, they have a natural line of defense set up for them. So that could be a really good position to play for them in the later stage if the circle goes their way. Though, Enigma Galaxy actually going far south looking for Gangsters. There's a fight happening out in the blue. Gangsters versus Enigma Galaxy. Okay.
Is that all of Enigma Galaxy going?
I think so. I can't see any of them in the circle. Otherwise, Ralph is an absolute madman.
Maybe they're going for a boat. Maybe they're not going for a fight, and because they have gone towards the coast side, so it could be that they're trying to rotate over towards Mong Nai, even?
Could possibly be. I'm not sure what's happening here because Gangsters are just remaining towards docks and not willing to move at all. This is, once again, these circles do a lot more damage than what we initially had in 2022. Strats like this do not work anymore in this current season, so not sure what the game plan is, but we'll see, because now, the thing is, John, even if they rotate now, you don't have really a lot of compounds remaining in circles, so it might still be too late, even if they start moving at this very moment into the safe zone.
Nobody expects the stage 4 boat That's
Inquisition.
that's what happens sometimes, I guess. I mean, maybe you're over-investing a lot into that. You need a lot of meds to be able to sustain that, and then your resources are very, very dry. You need to catch a team by surprise if you want to pull off a play like that, because otherwise you just don't have the resources at your disposal.
Exactly, though Regnum Kari and Next Riyadh are going to be playing this road trifecta, which are renowned on Sanhok for being really, really strong if you're able to zone teams away and just stop them from breaching. So far, it's going to be like a symbiotic relationship between those two teams working together, shutting teams down as they try and approach their position. And if they are still in this circle later on, they might have to fight one another. But as of right now, they're friends. They're having a good old time in that trifecta compound. As Nigma then, I mean, not quite the rotation, but close enough. It is on the coast, so they do make it in, John. And the circle actually is great for them. They could go right into Camp Bravo and call it home.
Do they want to go into Camp Bravo? Likely it's already picked through, and it's pretty difficult to get out towards those hills when you can just maintain that line on the east, though. I mean, you have got that ridge side that you've just pointed out to me, Max.
Yeah, could be a decent entry point. Actually, north of Camp Bravo, you have also 2 compounds which currently are free. The thing is, Nigma Galaxy just arrived, so scouting is something they haven't been able to do this match. They have very little information, but seems like indeed they're going to go into Camp Bravo. It's just a safe option. It's a big position. Even if a team was in that compound, it's just, you can at least get inside of it and avoid third parties, which is a decent option. So the circle, as we did see then, a little bit further southeast, which means that now Paradise Resort is going to be taken out of the equation. Lutz has been scouting this eastern edge the entire time, so I feel like Fireflux could have actually a decent transition into that compound we mentioned early in the game.
Have to find that opening for them to leave Paradise Resort. Nox are starting to go back and forth. RGG have taken some damage. You can see Rio there forwards and down. Very, very isolated. And Caliga trying to make these crosses, but Tulika has other ideas. Mad Bulls want to make sure that this one does not get away from them. Evo Station also with the off angle for Team GQ. We're going to put more punishment downrange towards RTG as Tulika sprays the ground around their feet. The crawl, is it going to bleed out? It's super low, and it goes.
This is massive, Flicker. That angle is so good. Just nice little ridgeline to play from. And because of these buildings in particular, the warehouses are so open, one off angle could ruin your entire position. So Flicker, if he does not get knocked, this could be the position to give them this fight and get so many eliminations on RTG. The thing is here, John, the blue zone's coming in, so he can't hold that position for the long term. He's got maybe a minute tops, and then he needs to start to reposition, regroup, and start thinking of what the next move is going to be.
GQ going to have to hold off against GK. At the moment, no knocks going either way. In the meantime as well, before this fight has started, Gangsters have moved up that east coast on vehicles there, so they are playing on that east side. They have left the south. Evo Station opens up towards GK for a good knock to start against Marth.
Actually, GK not having Hope playing, which was a core starting player on the team back in Arabia and, of course, also in the championship. And Hope not having the best season in spring 2023, so potentially Marth is going to bring that little bit of breath of fresh air that the team needed, because otherwise the whole squad is looking strong, but I feel like Hope was definitely not bringing the heat, so that roster swap could be massive as we're waiting for the circle to come up once again. And Falcons actually, staying in their position from the start of the game, John, has worked out great because they're currently center. This next circle could go right their direction, and if it does, they could be in a game-winning position.
Well, you heard it here first. GK, hopeless is what Max said. I heard him say it. I don't know if you guys caught that.
Literally.
Definitely. That's a correct characterization of what he said. Corker is down, though, on the defense for GQ. It looked like the starts of the trade were going their way, but Satan and Marth both having picked up an elimination. Evo Station getting zoned away. That Molotov not quite going to catch him here, but GQ starting to get melted in the face of GK from atop the hill. Circle popped up towards the north. A lot of roads in this one, Maxman, and only one major compound on that west side with the wall surrounding.
The one we talked about on phase 1 pretty much is still available, and Fireflux have yet to go there, which I'm generally surprised that has not been overtaken at this point. GK looking for the push. Toff is though going to have himself the DBS to Kachonk in play. Gets one right onto Marth, gets instantly taken down.
Up close into the wall, though, there is still that threat through the window, and you can see that damage start to pouring through. Satan picks up the slack. In he goes. The vault is good. The knock is there, and no teammates means that is one dead GQ. A nice flush found from GK, but they're right on the south side. They're going to have to move quick.
It is proven. You don't need hope. You just need guns. And that's going to cut it here. But Mad Balls were able to try and regroup. Their Flaker's angle, unfortunately, was not as successful as we really wanted because, as we said, that blue zone was indeed coming in, so that time factor was not going their way. But now they got himself a nice little ridge, nice little slope.
Moth just went down. He got fully flushed.
Oh, wait, what? Oh.
The blue zone, I guess.
Yikers. Okay.
Bad. Bad news.
Yeah. The south is going to be defended by Falcons too, so you're going to have to fight your way into the circle right now. There's not, unless you go for the compound, but it's still free. Regnum Carrier, Next Furia, Fireflux, De Muerte, no one's going for it right now, I feel. But if you go for it, a third party might be unfolding, as the blue zone is going to be engulfing the entirety of RTG.
The Mad Balls with the Caltrops behind them. Unfortunately, not going to be able to burst the tires just now. Gallagher not finding the knock. Groza in turn is spotted. And the Mad Balls hold the line. Frozen dips back behind the headland, stays safe as Gallagher continues to pressure them. But they are withstanding this test on the southeast side. A nade over the top keeps them even safer as Zerich nails the first. But hang on a minute, he's been knocked. Is that blue zone or is that from over the way? Maybe it's, yeah, that's going to come through from the blue zone. Regnum Kaya in the meantime have Next Ruya to deal with.
Oh, I feel bad for RTG. That blue zone is doing way too much damage. You really need to get into the circle right here, right now. Mad Balls crashing right onto Excuse Me, but unfortunately it's just not meant to be here, John. Completely wrecked. And losing all of their players, except for Talika, that's on the other side of the road, might be able to just snake his way and get a few extra placement points, but that win is pretty much out of the question for Mad Balls, as waiting for another shift. And it might just end on the roads, and it does indeed, right north on the roads. Brute Force currently the only team with Vision Esport that have a position they can actually play and defend.
The Gladiators had a little bit of a scuffle over on the north side. They've managed to pick up 2 eliminations, but they have lost, I believe, Tixie on that northern edge. They do have a pretty solid position. No teams can really go for that full wrap around. Nigma Galaxy have obstacles in their way. That's probably the team that's closest to being able to do that. And Brute Force not going to leave their compound.
Yeah, I understand though for Nigma Galaxy, Gangsters, not really Talika, he's not really part of the equation here, but Falcons also, you want to breach onto Excuse Me potentially, but the first team to breach it, you're going to get third partied. If Nigma Galaxy send it onto Excuse Me, Falcons are going to get engaged. If it goes the other way around, Nigma Galaxy will third party. So it's kind of complicated. And Excuse Me are kind of getting the better deal in the south. There's a bit of cheering going on, of course, because Falcons still on, trying to initiate potentially their push. Vision. Oh, some fight is breaking out on the east.
Team fire from Gladiators, but Gangsters have moved north. They do swing around, maybe trying to push into the compound, but there are more threats from these hills than they were maybe initially banking on, but either way, they'll pick up the points if they can find them. 2 knocks over towards the Gladiators. They go very low, but Gangsters do go down, and Vision not quite going to have the angles to get the flush, but Gladiators lose 1 more player. So now just Meku and Kitsune remain for them, and the Mad Balls eliminated in the meantime.
It really sucks that Vision lost 2 players, unfortunately. In a position like that, you'd expect them to be able to retain 4 players, but Nigma Galaxy going for the wide swipe over to the east, while keeping Coops behind, potentially looking for that strong off angle. Could work out that Hogige versus Falcons. Falcons going to be losing 1, but Satan unfortunately falls down instantly right after. It will be a 1-on-1 trade so far.
But that flush over to the Falcons as well will hit them pretty hard. Last player standing now, Teak. Wants to move forwards, close to Excuse Me's position. And with the blue zone at the back, you're just going to have to go across this open field. Nigma Galaxy losing players in the meantime as well. Lord now seemingly the last standing for Nigma Galaxy. They try to swing out. I think they've still got Coops, actually, across the way as the circle shifts south.
Excuse Me's compound is still in the circle, John, again. The odds of that happening are actually really slim, but they're able to just have a little bit of extra position in circle here. They can take some nice shots towards the teams that are going to have to leave their position. Vision Esport can't really hold their compound anymore. Brute Force going to have to start thinking of crossing the roads. Fireflux going to have to leave their own compound going downhill. Are going to be prone to taking shots from a lot of teams. They're going to be looking their way as Vision Esport spotted out as they leave the compound, eliminated. 7 teams still on board as De Muerte, unfortunately, going to be encountering Fireflux, and they're going to be losing that fight pretty much instantly.
Nigma Galaxy trying to go for that eastern swipe, leaving just Coops, MVP of MEA, a brutal and aggressive player in his own right. But as a solo, can he convert into some more points for the roster? At the moment, they have 5 eliminations. Getting up towards top 5, top 4 even, would be great news. And they're pretty close by. Could just try and fend off Brute Force, Gladiators and De Muerte to the north.
If it was any player, I'd be like, no, this one solo player of Nigma Galaxy is not going to do much. But it is Coops. No, not only MVP of MEA, but also Arabia. After his pickup away from the North American region. A Fireflux in the compound that we mentioned multiple times this match, starting to initiate their departure. Looking to gain terrain, and really right now, because all the teams, they waited it out, John, so well. All the teams are busy on the outer skirts of the circle. They can start gaining more space in the circle itself, getting multiple angles. And really, I think this might be a completely uncontested Fireflux win.
Coops just survived an engagement with the remaining duo of gladiators across the way on a sliver of HP, and Brute Force were able to chime in with a vehicle explosion towards them as well. Fireflux now start to open the cannons. They've been marching from Paradise Resort, slowly pushing pressure in from the west side, and now they have to spread over the hills for the next circle. Max, it's looking good for Fireflux, the Turkish team, to take home this first one. They have the advantage.
Clearly do. I mean, the angles they have are absolutely deadly. One thing that could work out, though, for the side of Excuse Me is if they have smokes, which they haven't used any this game, I believe. Okay, maybe they don't have any because they're just trying to run it through the roads, and that's 3 instantly shut down.
Really difficult to leave this position. Coops also has to move forward. That airdrop is crucial for him as well. It allows him to step just that little bit closer to the road and maybe save a smoke or two.
Very strong with that third-person perspective. The smokes of Brute Force are going to be coming out. Unfortunately, not able to go far enough. Coops spotted out, and that's it. Havlikainer will be the one to put the nail in the coffin for this squad. Nigma Galaxy out, Geek also secured, and Fireflux up to 5, and they're going to rack up even more limbs here, John.
They're just trying to close this one out, and it's looking good for now. Fireflux, the champions from the EU region, looking to put their name on the map, set down the standard for the regional clash here in Riyadh. Max, Fireflux take it down with a 19-point chicken dinner.
Another day in the